WJR.
It is, but again, the frustrating part is knowing that, you know, forget ever hiring either one of our firms. What companies could be doing tomorrow to avoid that? And that's the frustrating part. I know our good friends at Conway, ourselves, we do a lot of public speaking. We're out there. We're not trying to sell work. We're trying to get people to understand that you can, in fact, do something, but sitting around waiting for something to happen is not the answer.
Preventive medicine,
Absolutely.
as you mentioned
Exactly.
earlier, Joe. So what's it like then when inevitably this would happen in some situations when you're sent in to help someone who was not necessarily looking for your help? I suspect that one company where you replaced the management team had not called you. You were called in by
The ownership
or whatever. And what's that like? And what would you suggest to those companies that have outside help sent in?
Well, again, it's never fun having someone come in to tell you you haven't done a good job or that I could do it better. We truly aren't that much smarter. We're just more laser focused, and we know results are what count versus all the emotion and things. So we try to deal with it as humanly as possible and be fair and equitable to people. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to how do we fix the problem. I always equate it, again, I mentioned medical earlier. I have two very good friends, both are doctors, both are general practitioners. One's an emergency room doctor and the other is a general practitioner. They were taught all the same things. They can't even speak the same language. The sense of urgency that we end up having, sometimes maybe our bedside manner isn't as good as maybe it should be, but we're not there to coach and couch issues. We're there to fix problems. And we try to deal with it as humanly as possible. You have to think, one of my first turnarounds I did 20 plus years ago was with a company that we had to let, I don't know, 1,000 or 1,500 people go a week before Christmas. And, you know, talk to the local priest, talk to your friends. I mean, it was difficult. But the issue was, what are you saving? What's going to be left? How many jobs will be there when it's over? And you just got to stay focused on the positive side.
Yeah, the good news is that there will still be a company there to employ some of the people as opposed to it going down the tubes and having nobody employed. And I suspect for you, Chuck, the same kind of situation.
Yeah,
And
very much so. When we're referred in, when the company has not actively sought to engage us, there's two things that I cover with the client right away in the beginning. Number one, I don't know their business as well as they do. And so I need to work with them because of the knowledge that they have of their own business. Secondly, my role is essentially to help them through this process because usually they have not gone through this process before. And I work for them. I don't work for the bank. I don't work for their primary customer or whoever the other constituents may be. I work for them. And the only thing that I have going for me is my reputation. The sooner that we can bond and work together, regardless of what actions have to be taken, that is going to end up putting us in the best position of hopefully dealing with the issues. And I usually give them some examples of other companies that I've worked with that have taken different paths and what the result has been. And it doesn't happen all the time, but usually, pretty quickly, we're all kind of holding hands and trying to get through the issue.
what do you say finally to those companies and people listening in right now on WJR.com who say this is all well and good, but we know we can't afford companies like this to come in and help us? Now, it's easy to say, well, you can't afford not to have companies like this come in. But what do you say, and how do you work it out, and where does the bank come in on all of this?
From our perspective, Paul W., it's take 2 or 3 key metrics and manage them tomorrow. Forget me. Take cash, take what you're supposed to produce, take what you're supposed to ship, take what your inventory level is, assign somebody to it, understand the cash value of that Chuck talked about earlier. It is cash. Figure out how to improve that situation, manage it every day, and hold someone accountable. Forget Whitehall, forget Conway, MacKenzie, Dunleavy. Do what you should be doing every single day. If you do that, the gentleman to my left is going to be a lot happier, and you as an owner are going to be better off tomorrow than you are today.
Anything to throw on that, Chuck?
What we usually do is, I mean, it's really in a piecemeal process. So companies that speak with us, they're not necessarily signing up for a 1 month or a 2 month engagement. Many times we'll actually start by spending a few hours with the company to understand what their issues are. from that discussion, if there is something that we can do to help them out, we'll look at that. And we measure, as Joe mentioned, the cost of our services. We don't just look to recover that. That's not a successful outcome. We're looking at 10 times, 20 times the cost of our services. We have to make a compelling case. And again, I think companies should not be under the impression that they're signing up to a significant engagement, but it's really in their best interest, especially in these times, to be talking to everyone and anyone that they can that can help them through these times.
Partner, I think, David, I think we've helped a lot of people today with this conversation. Good of you to bring on experts that we would not have known otherwise. Joe is, as I mentioned, Joe Bione, founder of the Whitehall Group. Maybe you want to give is there a website or?
Absolutely, Paul W. www.whitehallgroupllc.com, and like Chuck, give us a call. We'll come out and sit down and talk to you, absolutely on our nickel, and just we want to help.
And Chuck Moore, Senior Managing Director of Conway, MacKenzie, and Dunleavy. Thanks for being here with us. And your website would be?
It is www.c-m-d.com. And
the email address and a way to get a hold of them and get more information and see if, in fact, they can be of help to you. And as I said, David Doyle, as co-host, CPA, President, CEO of National City Bank for Michigan and Northwest Ohio. It feels good on a program like this to know that we've thrown out some help, some ideas, and now it's up to these business people to decide if they can maybe grab a hold and get some value out of this. I don't know how they couldn't.
I think, Paul W., the people that listen to this program, this particular program, who are in a challenging position right now, if they, much like an alcoholic, you have to realize that you have the problem before you can address it. And if the businesses that realize it, regardless of where they bank, this is good for business, it's good for the banking industry, for folks to get the help they need as early as possible. And hopefully these two gentlemen have spurred a little bit of thought and idea in some of the listeners, and regardless of who they call for help, let's just get it fixed.
They know there are people out there.
There is help available.
Like Chuck and Joe.
And
thanks.
Talk to your banker. Keep your banker engaged in what you're doing.
You don't go to your banker when it's an emergency.
Exactly.
It's all over. Don't go to the banker when it's way too late.
Exactly.
Nobody likes that kind of a surprise. And if you go to them early and give them an idea of what's happening, it's going to work out a lot better, as Joe and Chuck would tell you, of course, and it already did. For David P. Boyle, the CPA President and CEO of National City Bank for Michigan and Northwest Ohio, I'm Paul W. Smith. Thanks for joining us at WJR.com for our third National City Roundtable, helping Michigan companies manage through a tough economy. I'll see you in the morning, Monday through Friday, from 5:30 till 9 on News Talk 760 WJR. Regards, Paul W. Smith.